Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words this morning. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We speak it of hope, sign of our quest for truth and liberty, in celebration of the life we share together. When I was a child, my sister Ingrid and I went to a Methodist singing camp. It was called Joyful Voices. And all day we would go to class and sing. And I learned how to play the handbells, and at night we'd have vespers, and then the best rounds of Capture the Flag that I've ever done in my entire life. That was the pinnacle of the day. At the end of the week, our parents would come to hear us sing, and we'd be in big bleachers in an old barn. But in July in Wisconsin, it was very hot and uncomfortable in that barn. And I remember singing to full effect to parents who actually were smiling at us while they were sweating along the way. Now, I loved that camp, except the fact that they woke you up at 7 o'clock in the morning, which didn't seem fair to me. You're going to camp, and you had to get up at 7 in the morning. But the thing that I liked about it was that the counselors would walk through the corridor in the morning and knock on your door and come in, and they would wake you up by singing, "Rise and shine and sing to the glory, glory, rise and shine and sing to the glory, glory, rise and shine and sing to the glory, glory, children of the world." I would wake up and I'd kind of mumble to myself, and as I put my clothes on, I'd start singing, "Rise and shine, sing to the glory, glory." I'd make my way to the mess hall, "Rise and shine, sing to the glory, glory." I've always loved that song. And through the years, on those times when I have a hard time getting up in the morning, I will start with my head on the pillow and sing to myself. I think I do it because it's a good reminder that life is to be celebrated. That even when we have dark times and we have those moments where it feels like everything is going to be a mess that day, there's still something in it that is glorious. I think it's one of the reasons that we come to church and we have to be reminded of that sometimes. That there is a glorious aspect to every day that we have. It's why we call our worship services the celebration of life. So won't you join with me in welcoming in this day by singing, "Rise and shine and sing to the glory, glory, rise and shine and sing to the glory, glory, rise and shine and sing to the glory, glory, children of the world." Welcome to our celebration of life. It's so good to be together again this morning. Expect to be disappointed. That's my husband's mantra. He is a defensive pessimist. It works for him when things turn out well, and is expecting the opposite, he is so pleasantly surprised. I can't do that. I expect a little more good from life, and sometimes I find it, and sometimes I don't. So friends, during this season of expectation, may we take with us into the silent sanctuary of our earnest, soulful hearts the best of both of these outlooks. May we be pleasantly surprised in the days ahead by a frazzled clerk who, under tense circumstances, turns out to be kind and generous, not short and rude. May we glory in the wonder of sure-to-come falling snow and expect to be elated once again by the magic of frozen water. May we find ourselves connecting with an acquaintance who is usually quite selfish, surprised by their genuine interest in our day. May we expect to find amidst and among us a little more kindness, a little more compassion, a little more gentleness. And may we also expect it from ourselves. May it be so. Amen. May the sounds we have shared continue to hold and heal us all. Amen. It's this time of year that the story is told over and over again, especially on Christmas Eve in every town. The story of a couple who had to travel to a place that was unknown because they were made to go there to be a part of the census. Story of Mary and Joseph, an unwed, teenage, pregnant mom, who along with her betrothed made it on a long distance. And when they got there, of course, as the story goes, she gave birth to a son, Jesus, who was born under the great stars with dirt underneath his feet. That child who came from seemingly nothing came to be known as something. A man who spoke of radical sharing, who gathered the misfits kind of together and called them not just his people, but God's people. He began and became a man who promoted a love that knew no bounds. And here's the thing, there is that enormous gap in the story, right? You have the story of this child being born, and then all of a sudden this man who's doing ministry in his late 20s. What the heck happened between the beginning and all of a sudden there? Am I right? Has that confused any of you? Just a little bit? Come on.
We went to Catholic school.
We went to Catholic school. Okay. But we are to wonder, I am at least, how could this young baby who came from nothing become someone who reminded vast numbers of people that they were of worth, that they were a blessing to the world? A man who seemingly had no love outside of his family. I mean, here he was considered one of the least of these. And in the ancient world, if you were born from a mother who was considered illegitimate, you were like at the bottom of the corner. You really were one of the least of these. So much so that people would have expected really nothing out of you. Nothing that you would have become to be great or grand in the world. So how is it, given his circumstances and the negative voices that must have been around him all of the time, how did he become the champion for loving one's neighbor as yourself, with absolutely no exception? It's a conundrum. For a long time, I've started telling myself this story about why I think he became who he was. A story I know to be true, or at least as true as anyone can know the truth of a yarn that is thousands of years old. A story that creates a link from that baby to prophet. A tale that starts with his mama, Mary. Because all good stories start with your mama. You see, soon after Jesus was born, his family was on the run. They went to live in Egypt, as no Jewish babies were safe in Palestine. And while there, they became strangers again in a strange land. And it was there that that baby grew and grew and grew. And somewhere amidst his childhood, the family moved back to the far end of Galilee in Nazareth. And there too, that child grew and grew and grew. And I know that, like all good mamas, Mary told her son Jesus the story the day he was born. At first, she'd start right when he was about to take a nap while he was twirling her long mocha hair around his finger. And she'd tell him, "My boy, on the day you were born, it was a holy night. A day for singing, a time for wandering, a time for worship." And as he'd drift off to sleep, she'd tell him about the donkey that they rode on to Bethlehem. She'd explain how she was heavy with child and how Joseph was worried about their trip to Bethlehem, that they had no money for a beast of burden, and how the night before they were to leave for Bethlehem, their quiet, unassuming neighbor Saul walked over and handed Joseph the reins to his donkey. "Use her," he said, "and keep yourself safe." And so they set upon that long journey on a sturdy donkey because of the kindness and generosity of a neighbor. When Jesus was 3 and could talk, his favorite word was "why." "Why are you sad, Mama? Why do I have to eat all of my grapes? Why do I need to take a nap?" That day at his birthday party. Good. That day at his birthday party, his mother started the story of the day he was born. At the court, where they were still miles from Bethlehem, still a full day's walk. She told him how his dad was weary from walking and how Joseph had looked up at her and he wasn't quite sure about where they were going and he needed directions. And when he looked back from looking at her, he looked out onto that road and there he saw a man approaching in the distance from the opposite direction. So to say they saw a man in the pale morning light isn't quite true. They saw the silhouette of a man. And Joseph yelled out to him for directions. And as he did so, he tumbled over and tripped on a rock and was lying on the ground and had hit his head. And there Mary looked down and did not know how to help him up. And Mary said to her son, "So there your dad lay, and I knew not what to do." And when we looked up from Joseph, standing in front of me was this man at my side. No longer a silhouette, but a Samaritan. Of course, Samaritans are of a different tribe, and we don't often see eye to eye. And yet Jesus, this old man himself, bent and weak like me, lifted Joseph from the ground, wrapped his ankle with cloth from his belt, and gave us directions and a few denarii as well. And as Joseph hobbled us closer to town, the Samaritan waved goodbye and gave us a little prayer for our journey. My son, he did not see us through the eyes of one who judged or condemns, just as a fellow traveler. He reminded us to welcome the stranger no matter who they are, that your neighbor, Jesus, is whoever needs you. And Jesus said to his mother, "That's a good Samaritan." "It is," she said, tousling his hair. When he was 5 and sure of himself, in that way that 5-year-olds can be, otherwise known as having the "I am always right" affliction, his mother told him the story of the day he was born. Mary told Jesus the part of the story when they were nearing Bethlehem and how her pain grew and grew in her stomach, stretched and contracted, and she knew that he would soon be born. And then Mary would say to her son, "Fear engulfed me as my own mama was alone when she had given birth. And I was holding my stomach and feeling it move in and out." And we passed some shepherds who were watching their flock by night, and we asked how far we were from town. They told us just under a malarium and pointed toward the east, and indeed we could see the glow of the city. And then this tall, spindly shepherd said to her dad, "My sister is a midwife. Looks like you could use her." "We could," he said. "We could," I said. "Thank you. She'll meet you at the bottom of the hill." And off he ran down the other side of the hill, around to the back. And then your father and I walked down the hill at the edge of town slowly with your dad still hobbling, and our surprise found the shepherd's sister waiting for us. She was tall and spindly like her brother, and kind of sharp in her edges, but she had warm eyes. She walked us by the inns and houses, explaining there were no rooms available, but she had a friend, and at that last inn, she knocked on the door, and there came a small child, and she said to that child, "Michael, go wake your parents. I need some water and blankets, and if you do so, I will have a sweet fig with honey on it for you." Then that gangly woman settled us near bales of hay and cured my worry. She spoke in a low, reassuring manner, telling me what to expect next, how to breathe in and out. It reminded me I was brave and strong, like she knew me to be. She told us how her youngest child was ill and how grateful she was that her mother had come and taken care of him so that she could come. She sacrificed her own worry and need to help us. She saw my needs as her own, Jesus. And that made me feel seen and loved by a stranger. When he was 9, Jesus came home on his birthday and told his mama about his disturbing walk home from school. How these older Egyptian kids caught up to him and mocked him in the street, calling him an illegal immigrant. How they had accused Joseph, the foreigner, of stealing jobs away from their family's construction business, and how they said Jesus was no better than a common thief in the market. They spoke of him and his family as if he was dirty and unclean, and Jesus looked ashamed and told his mother how he felt unworthy of blessing, only cursed. So that night, his mother, after serving mashari, which was Jesus' favorite meal, told Jesus about the innkeepers. Mary said, when the woman of the house came with blankets and water to the barn, she asked where we were from, and I said, Nazareth in Galilee. And the innkeeper's wife said, my neighbor Shafir would call you an illegal immigrant or a foreigner in occupied territories. At this point in the story, Mary bent low to her son's ear and said, when she said that, I held my breath and kind of shrunk into myself. But then this woman I did not know took my face in her hands and said to me, my dear, there's no such thing as boundaries and borders. You are a child of the universe. The politicians and armies make imaginary lines and say, this is yours today, that was yours yesterday, now this is mine. We are all God's children. We are as vast as the stars above our head and as different as grains of sand, but we are all one. No foreigners, no illegals, no homeless. And when I gave birth to you, and Mary bent next to her son's ear and hushed, clear and proud, careful to be sure Jesus heard every word. When you took your first breath, and they put your warm, damp body on my chest, I whispered to you your name, and your claim as a child equal to all, reminding you and me that we are all one, we are all connected, we are all children of the universe. When he was 13 and pimply and moody, Mary told Jesus about the herald angels on the day he was born. How the midwife had told her shepherd's friends that she was delivering a baby that night and that the herald angels needed to come and welcome him into the world. The herald angels were a quasi-religious secular singing troupe who couldn't make money as musicians. So they wrote at night as shepherds. It was their tradition to welcome any child into the world that they knew or did not know. So those herald angels sang to you. When each child is born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who you are. Each child is born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who you are. When he was 15, on his birthday, Mary told him about the day he was born, that as the night turned pre-dawn and the horizon was just starting to open its golden eye, 3 rabbis from different tribes walked out together from the inn. They were studying political tensions and amateur astrologists. Mary told Jesus. They told me they never missed an opportunity to bless a child at arrival. So each knelt before you, Jesus, and blessed you. The first wise rabbi said, with this myrrh I anoint you, little one. May you always remember these words. If only the world were as kind as a child can imagine it, may you be a gift of kindness and light to all. The second rabbi sprinkled some frankincense on your forehead, and then he knelt down and kissed your forehead for wisdom. He kissed your ears to listen deeply to what is right, your hands to use them to heal the world, and he kissed your feet to walk in righteousness and in peace through the world. Then the last rabbi held my hand and let rest in my palm a small bag of coins, and he said to me, may you take this gold and use it for your health and safety. And you use it for love. Love for each other and love for the people of this world. Do not mistake one for the other. Money can never buy you love, and love can never buy you money, but love's worth is far greater than any coins you will ever accumulate. On his 16th and 17th and 18th birthdays, Mary had Jesus tell the story of the day he was born to her. If he missed something, she made him start all over again. How he was a child of the universe and of worth, that he was to love his neighbor as himself, that he was a blessing to the world. She ended every birthday with a reminder that he was a gift to his parents, but also to the world. And that we do a disservice to one another when we don't see ourselves as agents of kindness and justice and love. That inside all of us is our truth and our love. And at times it will shine brightly and at times feel all too dim, but that when in doubt, give yourself away to needs of another. And that light will shine through. And you will be reminded once again what a great gift you are. And from that birthday on, through all the days of his life, whether with his family or not, every year he never wavered in his commitment to himself and his mother to share of his light and his love. And on his birthday, he would sing that song to himself. When each child is born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who you are. When each child is born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe. Only Bill can make me hymn that feels motley to the rest of us, like work. Would you please join hands for the closing word? We extinguish this flame,
not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Amen.
Join us for worship every Sunday at 10 a.m. at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Canandaigua, a welcoming congregation. We are located at 3024 Cooley Road, 4 miles west of South Main Street, Canandaigua, just north of the intersection with Routes 5 and 20. Look for the blue signs just before the turn. Your comments about this program or questions about the church are welcome at 585-396-1370 or at our website, www.canandaiguauu.org. Producer and editor, Daniel Brigham.